Mr. Nims, can you describe what happened to the original cranes at the port of Hodeidah?
So the original cranes in August 2015 were bombed in an airstrike.
How has that negatively impacted humanitarian operations at Hodeidah and more broadly in Yemen?
So with the loss of these cranes, it definitely has impacted the discharge rate of vessels going into the port. So that has really slowed the port operations overall. And that has had an impact definitely on the humanitarian side, as well as the overall commercial activity for all of Yemen.
Were USAID funds used to purchase, as best you can tell here in this setting, these mobile cranes to replace those put out of service by the Saudi-led coalition?
Those look very similar to, or if not the cranes that USAID did purchase through.
Wasn't designed to be a trick question, but I appreciate your integrity. Yeah. Okay. How much of U.S. taxpayer funds were used for these cranes?
That was $3.9 million.
Okay. They're now in the possession of the World Food Program, is that correct?
Correct.
I understand there was an attempt by the World Food Program to deliver those cranes to Hodeidah earlier this year. What happened? Why weren't they delivered?
There was an attempt to do exactly that, and there had been clearances gained from the Emergency Humanitarian Operations Center, from this coalition of groups that helps to ensure flow goes into the port. They had received clearance, the WFP, to enter those cranes into Hodeidah. As they got closer to that, the security situation had changed in the Gulf, in the Red Sea, and that shipment was turned back.
Are you aware of the June 27 World Food Program letter asking the Saudi government for permission to deliver the cranes?
I am aware of that letter, yes.
Do you support the World Food Program's request to have the 4 USAID-funded cranes delivered to Hodeidah?
Yes, delivery of the cranes would have a definite impact on both the humanitarian situation as far as getting throughput through the port of Hodeidah more quickly, as well as having a really good impact on the commercial activity overall in Yemen.
And I guess, apologies for the recapitulation here. So what are the negative humanitarian consequences of not having those cranes delivered, just to connect the dots?
Because the cranes will help the throughput and help port operations. When we don't have the cranes, it takes longer for ships to discharge. It takes longer for regular operations of the port to continue. The cranes will greatly facilitate having this movement of goods through the port. As I stated earlier, Yemen is completely dependent upon importation by and large to address the conditions they have, as well as their overall food needs in general. Having these cranes will improve that situation.
Some have suggested there's a large-scale problem with the theft of humanitarian aid at the port of Hodeidah. Is there a significant problem with theft of humanitarian aid at the port of Hodeidah?
First off, the U.S. government and USAID, and particularly my office, takes any allegations of diversion of humanitarian activities very seriously, and this is paramount in all of our operations. This humanitarian need, is really being held off by our continued operations that are being crucial through the port as well as with our partners. In this situation, we have taken this very seriously. We have investigated this through our partners. We've investigated this to a degree on our own, and we have had no evidence of any large-scale humanitarian diversions occurring at the port at all. We are able to say this because of the integrity of our partners and because of the methods that they use, as well as our own methods of third-party monitoring and other systems that we employ to ensure that this food gets to where it's supposed to go.
Thank you. That's what my other sources have indicated as well.